gentleman, I don't know. Oh yeah, it's afternoon. No, it's morning. I don't know. It all feels the same. Welcome back to Driven Dave. We've got a fun topic today. Well, I don't know if it's fun. It's fun. I like talking about all things cars. And of course, I've got a really good notepad so that I keep all my thoughts straight from Jones Coffee Roasters. Really good coffee if you haven't tried Jones. They're in Pasadena. I believe they have another one as well. Really tasty. So I was chatting with my buddy Andy this weekend, and Andy is, I would say Andy is a car guy, even though he doesn't call himself a car guy. Like, he definitely likes cars, and he knows more than the average bear, smarter than the average bear. He's done work on his own cars and stuff. He's just not car insane the way I am. So, we were chatting, and he said, hey, he's like, how do I know when it's time to move on? Like, when do I throw in the towel on my car and buy something else? Because he was kind of knocking around the idea of getting something newer. But he told me his situation. He has a nice car, and it's low mileage. And I said, bro, you're good. Keep it. Absolutely. Unless you just don't want it. So I told him, I said, hey, you know what? That's a good question. I'm going to put it on the channel. So here's the deal. With buying and selling cars. For the most part, they are depreciating assets. We all know this. Except for if you're living in 2021, you might actually have, a good amount of equity in your car. Just because there aren't enough of them right now. But during the normal times, no. You're going to lose money whether you're buying a $3,000 beater or, a $50,000 town car. So I've compiled kind of a short list of things that I consider, reasonable to consider if you're going to be bailing out of your car. So, and I'll give you a couple of examples where kind of this list doesn't matter. Like in my case, in the 2018 Kia, this is a great car. I mean, I could see myself keeping this for, 5-10 years, no problem. As long as it, ran well, which I think it will, as long as the rats don't eat it again. But my deal is, like, I'm in the carpool lane right now, sailing solo, living the good life. I mean, I should be listening to Yacht Rock right now. I mean, are you kidding me? This is awesome. So, being in the carpool lane solo is amazing, and I'm doing it legally, for the record. January 2023, the stickers on this car become invalid. It can only be registered as a clean air vehicle once that sticker expires, unless they change the rules, which I don't think they will. You're done. You're done in the carpool lane. Sorry. And so at that point, I'm going to be looking to make a change. Now, maybe we'll keep the car since it gets great gas mileage. Like, maybe this will be my wife's commuter. I don't know. So, we might consider keeping it under those circumstances. But otherwise, I'm probably going to have to just bail out and buy something else that does qualify for a sticker. So that's my situation, like with this car. And who knows, maybe you're in the same situation. But I'm going to give you a list of things that, you should consider. Now, I think the first thing to consider would be, like, if any of you listen to Dave Ramsey, the financial guru, you love him or hate him. I feel both about him. Like, I never had savings before I read his book. So, and I've had savings ever since I read his book. So, highly recommend checking out the Total Money Makeover. I'm not strong enough to follow it, like, to the T by any means, but it, even if you just pick up a few concepts there, like, it can be really helpful. So, it does change the way you think about money. And especially about cars. So he always talks about how, like, no car payment is a good idea. Like, you should never have a car payment. like, I disagree, but I understand what he's saying. Like, he's not wrong. Like, yeah, if you can save up $10,000 and buy a $10,000 car, man, good on you. Like, and if it's a good car, then you win. Like, you're straight winning. It's awesome. And then you could probably sell it for $6,000 when you're done. So, like, you really didn't lose much money. So, valid point, absolutely. If you need a car that does a certain thing, like for your job, then you may not be able to do that. So, you know, that doesn't always work. But obviously, having no car payment is the best idea. I've talked to some people that say, well, I just had to put $700 into my car. I mean, if it does that again, I think I'll just buy something else. And the $700 does hurt. Agreed. For me, and I forgot to look this up, but just in my personal experience, even owning Toyotas and reliable cars, like, I feel like every year I have to put about $1,200 into each car in one way or the other, whether it's tires, whether it's a radiator, a water pump, a starter, brakes. You know, there's always going to be something. Always. So, you know, so get it out of your head that, like, that you're not going to have to go to the shop. I mean, yeah, if you get a new car, like a brand new car, you're not going to need tires for a while. You're not going to need brakes for a while. But you will need oil changes. You will need tire rotations. There are things. So, you know, plus you have a hefty car payment at that point. So, you know, try not to be too wigged out by the repairs. I looked up, and the average price of a brand new car in the United States is not the price, but the monthly payment. Now, monthly payment and price are kind of different animals. And by the way, never buy a new car or a used car based on how much you can afford each month, because that's not, no. Buy it based on the price of the car. Always the price of the car. Always, always, always. Okay, so the average monthly payment for a new car in the United States, $563 a month. Okay? Average price of a monthly payment for a used car in the United States, $397 a month. All right, you with me so far? And I think, and those numbers do sound about right, just from my own experience. So, if you have to take your car in, a good example, like, I took my mom's car to the mechanic, and I thought it was going to need maybe $1,000 worth of work. Turns out it needed $2,400 worth of work. Like, there was a lot wrong with it. Nothing like major, but all very expensive, relatively. So it was like $2,400 to get it out of the shop. Plus, she still needed tires. So call it $3,000. All right, but that was almost a year ago. Okay, so she was out, let's just call it $3,000 for the year on her car, and like that's a tough pill to swallow, granted. But as far as I know, she has no car payment, so it cost her $3,000. Sorry, Mom, I don't mean to blow up your personal details here, but if she had the average used car and made payments on it, she would be spending $4,764 in car payments on a used car, and then paying for repairs on that, and tires and brakes and, you know, all that stuff, the consumables, suspension bushings, you know, this is all stuff that wears out. Now, if she had a new car, $6,756 for the year, just for the payment. And we're not even talking about insurance, because car insurance is more on newer cars, generally. And registration, at least in the state of California, is more. Like on my Kia, I'm spending something like $330 a year to register this thing. Like, I'm not driving a Mercedes here, you know, like, give me a break. I mean, even on my Corvette, I mean, my Corvette's nice, of course, but it's old. Like, it's not worth that much money. And I think I spend like $214 a year on that, or $221. I don't know, something around there. So, the nicer the car, the more it's worth, the more they're going to charge you, at least in California, to register it. So like, that's also a consideration. So if you have an older car and you don't have to spend much to register it, you're winning in that field as well. So you see where I'm going with this. Like, Dave Ramsey's probably right. Like, don't have a car payment, drive an older car if you can. Absolutely. Then the other thing to consider. So maybe, here's a hypothetical. Let's say you're driving a Dodge Ram Rebel. There's one right over there. You can't see it, but you're driving a Rebel. I don't know what the gas mileage figure is on that. I'm thinking it's not good. I don't know what the sticker price on that is. I'm thinking it's pretty high. So let's say you're driving a $60,000 Rebel. And you're spending $500 a month on gas. Okay, so you're in a situation where you've got a high car payment. You're spending a ton on gas. All right. So let's say you've had the Rebel a year. It's 2021. You could actually sell it for what you paid for it, or maybe even more. You put 30,000 miles on it already, and you want to get a $30,000 Camry. My man, what are you waiting on? Do it. That's a great trade-off, in my opinion. Won't cost you any money. You'll save a ton. Your gas mileage is going to go way up. That makes sense. Now, if you're a construction contractor, you really need that truck for work. Maybe sell it and buy a cheaper truck. Something that you don't care if you're going to scratch it and dent it, because it's a work truck. Hello. So that makes sense. But work trucks are hard to find, so maybe just keep your Rebel. All right? It all depends. Like, there's no just cut and dry answer. Now I'm going to get into the other situations where, like, maybe it is a little more cut and dry. According to Scotty Kilmer, and I think also the Car Wizard, your top trusted automotive repair gurus on YouTube, they talk about, like, once an engine starts to burn oil, like not leak oil, but burn oil, and if you start seeing a puff of blue smoke or a cloud of blue smoke, like, you're probably done with that, with that engine. I mean, maybe you could do a top-end rebuild. Maybe it's just, something with the valves or whatever, but you're probably looking at a new motor. And in some cases, a new motor could be a whole lot of money. So if you're looking at $7,000 or $8,000 for a rebuilt motor or something like that, that gets you to $6,000. You've gone past the average new car payment amount. But if you could get another 2 or 3 years out of the car, that's going to save you $6,700 the next year and the next year. So then you're like $14,000, $15,000 ahead. See what I'm saying? But sometimes when you rebuild an engine, you don't get a good one, or, it is a bit of a gamble. And the older a car is, like, the more things it's going to need. It's just the way it is. Like, they do break, and these cars are not forever, even the Toyotas, and they're awesome. But, like, I think it's worth giving it a shot if you love the car. If you're not, like, that into the car, then maybe not. So we talked about, like, the miles per gallon thing. If you really need to save some money on gas, then maybe you crunch the numbers. Maybe it's worth it. Although most of the things I've read say that, like, it takes many years to make up the difference on gas mileage. So that's why, like, the hypothetical that I proposed was, like, going from a really expensive car to a much cheaper car, or more affordable car, I should say. And then it totally makes sense. But if you're going to go, like, oh man, this $4,000 Lexus gets 20 miles per gallon, so I need to go buy a $45,000 car to save money on gas. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, unless you really, unless your only care is, like, I want to burn less fossil fuel. Okay, then cool. But also consider the environmental impact. You are now buying something that had to be made instead of using what already exists. And there's a whole debate there. And I don't mean to get into an environmental debate with anyone. This is a car channel, so I care about the environment, but I also love my cars. Get what I'm saying? But hey, like, my hat's off to those that want to burn less gas. I respect that. And hey, I'm driving a partial EV here, so don't get mad at me. Take your fight somewhere else. So the other thing to consider, and maybe, let's say maybe you have a pretty nice car, and maybe it doesn't cost that much, but you've got a lot of maintenance coming up. You're going to need tires, you're going to need brakes, you're going to need suspension, you're going to need, major service, timing belt, water pump, blah, 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 and you don't really like the car, then maybe it's a good time to bail. Maybe. You may not actually save money by bailing, but maybe it's a good excuse to get rid of it. Sometimes you need an excuse. Fellas, ladies, sometimes you need some ammo there to convince your better half. Maybe you hate the way it looks. Maybe you're like, this is a great car, but it just makes me look dopey, and I don't feel good about myself when I roll up to wherever I'm going. Now that's not a good financial excuse, but I think it's a valid excuse. I mean, it's like, you don't have to wear designer clothes, but you don't have to look terrible all the time. And I feel like a car, to some of us, is kind of a fashion piece. The car you pull up in does say something about you. Let's just face it, people are vain. A lot of people are vain. Most people have some vanity, right? You may tell yourself at first, oh, I can drive this. This doesn't bother me. But then day after day, you kind of look at it and go, if you're any kind of independent contractor, you're showing up to jobs, people see you're driving a dump. I don't know, maybe some of you don't care. I think most of you do. That was one of the reasons I got rid of my Mustang. I had a 96 Mustang GT convertible. It was going to need a lot of cosmetic work, and I just couldn't see myself putting the money into it. It was worth $2,500 to $3,500 at the time. I probably had $5,000 or $6,000 into it at that point in repairs and modifications and stuff. So, I wasn't going to get my money back anyway. I didn't want to go in another $4,000 on cosmetic stuff. Then I've got a $9,000 or $10,000 Mustang that's only worth $3,000. Didn't make sense for me. I could have kept it a long time and been way ahead, of course, financially, but just based on what it was worth and what it was worth to me, it wasn't my dream car by any means. So I was like, you know what? I'm bailing out on this. That's when I bought my Corvette. I saved zero money by getting the Corvette. I went into debt. I got rid of a hefty down payment. It didn't make sense on any level other than the fact that I really, really, really wanted a Corvette and I could actually do it. So that made sense for me. For me, it doesn't make sense from any sort of financial point of view. I just wanted to treat myself. And not the smartest decision, but I don't regret it at the same time. Maybe your car doesn't look that bad. Maybe it doesn't break. Maybe you have a 2002 Camry. It runs perfect. The paint is still just fine. It does everything okay. It gets 27 miles per gallon. It's not great. It's not bad. But you've had it for 15 years. And you're just sick of getting in the same old car that's not fun or exciting. Maybe you're just sick of it. You want some new tech. You want some nice leather seats or something, and I mean, granted, you can add a lot of that stuff to an old Camry and everything, but maybe you just want, cars have evolved. You want to get on the bandwagon. So I understand that. And I think that is in some ways a valid excuse, I just want something new. I'm sick of this. I need something different in my life. Hey man, do it. Do it. It doesn't make sense. It's not financially sound. Do it. You're sick of your car. I get it. Maybe you keep it as a backup. You just buy something new. Or newer. I would not buy something new. But I think that's a good reason. So you got to figure, kind of getting back to the whole maintenance thing, maintenance and repairs, there are most things on the car. It just depends on what you drive, of course. But, one thing I loved about my Ford Crown Victoria was that I knew if I blew the motor, $2,500, $3,000. Drop a used engine in. Good, done. I grenaded the rear end on it, replaced the whole assembly, $1,200. Boom, done. Transmission grenades itself, $2,500 to $4,500. Boom, done. The transmission was the scariest thing in that car, but I mean, you can rebuild that whole car for almost the average of what people are paying per year on car payments. So you really can't make a good argument for getting rid of that car, except for the fact that it got 14 miles per gallon. So, and it was noisy and uncomfortable and hurt my foot. And I was afraid of getting shot. But besides that, it made total sense to keep it. You can see why I got rid of it. But yeah, so I mean, if you have a car like that, then maybe it makes plenty of sense to keep it. A lot of people are afraid of the hybrid cars because the battery might go out. And the battery will go out. I mean, let's face it. My buddy Morty, he's got one of these Kias, and he just has the hybrid version. I think it was like $4,500 for him to replace the battery pack. That's a bummer. That's a major bummer. But he's owned the car outright now for several years. And so if that's all he has to spend on maintenance this year or repairs, he's still right under the average of what people are paying in car payments for a used car. So, for him, that made a lot of sense. And he did it at the dealer. He's a wild man. Big shout out, Morty, and your cats. So anyway, just when you have to consider, a big repair, just think about those average numbers and say, okay, if I do this, am I going to be spending more or less than the average price of a new or used vehicle? And as long as you have a mechanic that you trust, it could be, could work out just fine. If you're going to a really horrible shyster shop, then I could understand. Maybe you just don't want to go to the mechanic anymore. You want a warranty. I get it. Maybe there's a lease deal on something new, and you don't drive much, and you can drive that car for $197 a month, and you're not going to go over the mileage. Maybe that makes sense. Maybe you need the tax advantage of leasing a car. Maybe that makes sense. So it just kind of depends on your lifestyle and your needs. I just wanted to offer some of my opinions. Please never take financial advice from me. I'm not the guy to ask, but these are just some of my personal experiences with cars, and do with the information what you will. It's just my point of view. In any case, if you have some thoughts on the matter, I'd love to hear it. Please bloop it in the comments down below. And little state of the union on the car right now. We're in the Kia, of course. We've got still got a long way to go. But averaging, since our trip to Palm Springs yesterday, and one full plug-in, we're averaging 44.6 miles per gallon, 249 miles of total range on the tank, 318.8 miles since fill up. I'm sitting just a hair over a half a tank, but call it half a tank. And average 49 miles per hour, 6 hours and 27 minutes of drive time. Folks, thank you so much for watching. It's really fun doing this stuff, and I've really enjoyed getting the feedback from you all. And hey, if there are any other topics kind of like this that you would like me to cover, I would be delighted. So please leave it down below. I will, it just reminded me, sorry, I was just thinking about a comment that I got on my video where I covered kind of like the high dealer markups, and somebody said, people are going to be really upset once the prices normalize. Yeah, no kidding. So I think my advice would be, don't buy a car right now, period. Hang on to what you got and wait till all this craziness passes by. If you want to sell your car and ride your bike, you'll certainly save a lot of money. Anyway, folks, thanks again. Like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. Hope you're all doing well, and I will see you in the next one.